we've divided the book into two parts, a beliefs part and a practices part. And seldom do we see either servant leadership or any other leadership pieces written where they integrate not only how does the leader have to think and believe about what he's doing or she's doing, but what are the practices that are necessary to bring the beliefs to life, and how do those two things work together, because they're completely interacting with one another, and reinforcing one helps the other and vice versa.
The other piece that I think we say beyond servant leadership that really is instrumental, what has happened to many leaders is they've learned practices at a surface level about what you're supposed to do to be seen as a servant leadership, but they don't have underneath it the underlying belief structure to support it. And then people end up poking through that and finding they're really not sincere. They're just doing quote unquote servant leadership stuff. I mean, toxic positivity is a classic example. We'll reinforce, tell everybody you're doing a good job. Well, yes, do that, but underneath it is something else that tells us that you tell them out of respect when they're really doing a good job and you're not doing faux praise that's really out there. I'll give you another quick example, and that is part of being a good leader is recognizing that you don't know. And that, in fact, the first chapter in the book is literally about great leaders have a belief that they should embrace uncertainty. And I think that's the fundamental component to a belief structure that you have to execute the practices of good listening, for example. Good listening, which everybody says is an important practice and skill, and I can teach you all the kind of things that you should be doing to be seen as a good listener, but unless underneath it you really believe that you don't have all the answers, it doesn't matter whether you act like you're a good listener by shaking your head and saying, tell me more, and all that type of thing, because then it just becomes a show. And a lot of people have understood that, really smart, insightful people, after they see a leader perform as if they were a servant leadership, but they don't have the real underlying belief structure.
You know, some people know all the practices, but don't have an underlying belief structure. That's very necessary. The opposite is also true. Some people can espouse the beliefs, but they can't put them into practice every day so that they don't carry out the beliefs in how they lead every day. So both ways are very important, and that is another element of being beyond servant leadership with this book.
Yeah, I think the key issue in servant leadership is it was oftentimes clear what the aspiration was in terms of how you wanted people to be. Sometimes it was clear about even the practices, but they didn't provide the detail about the underlying beliefs that are out there. And sometimes people have the beliefs, like embracing uncertainty or knowing that you can make progress in a variety of ways. They may have those beliefs, but they don't know how to do it. So what we try to do is bring those two together in this book, and I think that it's really important. And the reason why it's important is it's unlike learning to operate your new fangled television, just learning how to punch the buttons. That's all you really need to learn. You don't need to understand the underlying theory. It doesn't work that way with people. You have to understand the underlying beliefs, and you have to understand those underlying beliefs and structures in order to be successful at accomplishing the task of working with people.